What's the most awkward thing your parents caught you doing? I had a very soft poop earlier that day. I wiped quickly and went about my day. Later my butthole felt itchy, so I went to the bathroom to give it a second wipe. I didn't sit on the toilet to do it. I stood and put my foot on the bath to open up my butt crack and started wiping standing up. My mom walked in. We made eye contact. I was 31 when this happened. I was like 13 and I wanted to know what boobs felt like, so I put balloons down my shirt, then started to masturbate. Dad walked in, walked right back out. This one made me laugh the hardest. Like many sports fans, I'd play imaginary baseball in my yard. I was about 7 or 8 when my parents witnessed this. I'm coming around to score and get called out, but I clearly beat a tag, so I argued with the umpire. Argument lasted about 5 minutes and was ejected, which made me more angry. My mom watched the entire debacle from her window, presumably laughing hysterically. When I was about 6, I was in the bath trying to put Barbie's arm up my tee. I knew it was awkward then and I still do now. I don't remember myself, but my parents loved to tell me about the time they found me dancing naked on the kitchen table to the Final Jeopardy music at age 2 or 3. Thought my dad left for work in the morning, so I had the house to myself. I got out of the shower and turned the CD speakers on as high as they could go to the amazing tune of Cheeseburger in Paradise. I proceeded to sing and dance around the living room in my birthday suit, pulling off a performance that would have even have wowed Simon Cowell. As I got to the chorus one last time, I twisted my elegant body to see my dad witnessing me in mid-performance. He just shook his head and left. I decided to cut the music and take another shower in shame. My singing and dancing career also ended that day. Nice. That sounds perfect. Mine would have to be when, during a commercial break, I started powering up like a Saiyan, but only with little quiet whisper yells. I was still sitting down. When I was done, I saw my mom standing in the doorway just watching me for God knows how long. So all she saw was some 9-10-year-old sitting down, looking up and going here. Ha ha. If you say it loud enough you can become a Super Saiyan. When I was probably 12, my mom found the tape measure in the bathroom. My dad couldn't keep a straight face when she was yelling at me for never putting things back, which only made my mom angrier as she couldn't connect the dots. My dad reminded me of the story years later, swearing that my mother never figured out what I was doing with the tape measure. Well, when I was younger, I saw a black laced bra lying on the floor. I thought to myself, how would this look on me? So I went to the bathroom and stood in front of the mirror to try it on. Unfortunately for me, I forgot to lock the door, and my dad walked in on me, topless with a black bra on. I'm a guy BTW. My dad walked in on me, topless with a black bra on. I thought your dad was also wearing a bra. Well, I was pressing my dong on the slide window doors because I saw 2 girls in the building next to us. I was 4 or 5 years old. It's a toss-up between 7-year-old me being caught by mom and dad with a vacuum on my dong and 16-year-old me being caught masturbating with headphones on and my head covered by a pillow. 7-year-old me wanted to know how a blowjob felt, and 17-year-old me knew they were going to a party. Car broke down 2 blocks from the house. Hey, you live you learn. My mum and I came home from shopping one day to find my 14-year-old brother fully dressed in her clothing and wearing her makeup. I don't think we ever talked about it. He was a confused young boy. What my mom likes to tell people, she caught me sniffing her panties. What actually happened, I was getting the clothes out of the dryer and to check if they were still damp I usually pressed them against my cheek as a child. I had done this many times in the past, so there was nothing different other than when my mom walked in, it just happened to be her panties I was pressing against my cheek to check for dampness. My whole family likes to poke fun at me with that one. P. Me and my boyfriend were fooling around with the slow motion feature on the new iPhone and trying out different things to slow-mo. We decided to take a video of him slapping and jiggling his thighs. So he was in his boxers, and I knelt down in front of him to get the best cinematographic angle, probably a foot away from his pelvic area. Cue my dad's not knocking and walking in on me with the camera on my knees pointed at my boyfriend's junk in his boxers. My boyfriend just bursted out laughing and all I could muster was, "It's not what you think." He didn't say a word and closed the door. Squatting naked on the floor at 3 AM, whacking the floor with a slipper and yelling various swears because I saw a bug and wanted to make sure it was dead. I'm a man and was 22 at the time. I read that as whacking off on the floor with a slipper, so it could have been worse. When I was 9, I had dropped one of my dolls and the piece of cake I was eating, so I decided the best approach to cleaning it was to lick the cake off instead of grabbing a towel and washing it. The doll was a Barbie, and the cake had gotten all over her head and chest. So, there I was, licking cake off this Barbie doll's face and breasts, and my mother comes in to ask if I finished my cake. I'm pretty sure my mom thought I was going to grow up to be a lesbian. Court doesn't apply, but when I was younger I walked it into the living room and said, "I need bigger condoms," and walked away. Alpha as frick. Caught reading books from that hidden explicit section of the home library when I was a teen with the hormones raging. God, can't parents just be excited their child wants to read? My best friend and I have this habit of sending each other photos of injuries, cuts, scrapes, etc. One day after I got out of the shower, I noticed a huge, nasty bruise on my leg. Wanting to get a good angle, I threw my leg up onto my bed and started taking a photo. Combine that with the fact that I was naked, and it probably looked like the most awkward obscene text ever. I didn't sleep for like 20 hours and no one was home, so I started masturbating, then I fell asleep. My parents come home and after my mom saw me and yelled at me, I woke up and my excuse was it was scratching my balls. I was 14 when this happened. Moral of story: don't jerk when you're really sleepy if you still live with your parent. You drop this. I was taking spicy photos for my boyfriend. I was under the impression that my mum was sleeping 2 stories up. But she is the nosiest woman in the world and must have heard a creak in the stairs when I was walking around. She didn't catch me in the act, but the candles everywhere, me in just a bathrobe, and the guilty look on my face must have told her everything she needed to know. Didn't stop her from still trying to pry the actual answer out of me. For shoots and giggles, I guess. Whatever. Those photos came out great. No, I'm not sharing. Cameron. I was probably in middle school or early high school and I was chatting on Yahoo Messenger to this older guy and it turned to cyber freaking. We're typing back and forth for probably a good 30 minutes when my dad yells at me from downstairs to come out. Turns out I had been logged onto his laptop simultaneously and he was able to see the whole conversation. I tried to play it off like it must have been someone else logged on my account. I'm pretty sure he knew and I still cringe just thinking about it. That moment when you cringe at something you did in the past is the worst. I went on through this phase when I was 10-11 where I loved to pee outside. I still do, but have learned to control the urge, and even if I was at home right by a toilet I would still go outside and pee in the bushes. Anyways, my parents saw me while they were eating dinner and were like, "What the heck, you moron, pee inside." Also, my mom saw me biting my toenail when I was like 9 and I told her I was just stretching. She didn't call me on it, but it was fairly obvious what I was doing. Throwing up in front of them after getting home drunk. Worst part is that they sent me to bed and they cleaned up the mess. Ugh. I did this too one time. Got home from a party. My parents were still awake and were talking to me about the party, blah blah blah. I knew I needed to get upstairs ASAP, but didn't want to have them find out I was drunk. I ended up puking all over myself. Busted. When I was younger, probably 10-12 years old, my dad was talking about foreskin. I'm circumcised, so of course had never seen an uncircumcised dong at that age. So, my parents go out to dinner or something. I'm home alone. I sit on the couch with my mom's laptop and go to Google Images. Type in foreskin. Parents happen to arrive home immediately after, so I slam the laptop shut without closing the window, and I've got this guilty look on my face, of course. Dad walks over, grabs the laptop and asks, "What the frick are you doing?" I explain myself and he's just like, "Don't do that ever again," and walks off. When we were in high school, like 16-17, my best friend was home by herself one day and bored, so she decided to watch The Little Mermaid. When Under the Sea came on, she turned the volume all the way up and was dancing all around her living room singing along. When the song was done, she heard slow clapping coming from the doorway. Her dad had come back home to grab something and witnessed almost the whole performance. I laughed my butt off when she called and told me. Not caught, but still related. One time when I was about 13 years old, my mom decided that it was her responsibility to talk to my friends about fricking. There I am, sitting in my living room with my two best friends while my mom talks about everything. I told her we already had physical education at school and did not need to hear it, but alas, to no avail. My mother must have thought us clueless as newborn babes in need of guidance. She demanded that we sit there and listen to the pleasures of fricking, the dangers of fricking, why condoms are important, everything. Then, she delivered the coup de grace. She told my friends that pleasuring oneself was a perfectly normal behavior, and that it was okay for my friends to do it at our house if they needed to. Farewell to innocence. TLDR. Mom gave adult talk to friends and told them it was okay to jack it at our house. Jerking off when I was 13. Also last night my mom actually walked into my room while I was looking at porno pics on my phone. But I just hid my phone right under the blanket before she walked in and I just stared at her because it was pitch black in there, so she thought I was asleep. She then just stood there for a minute, which prompted me to think, is this what she does every night when I'm asleep? That's not weird at all. One time when my dad borrowed my laptop to do a quick Google search, one of the things that popped up under the autofill was Snake's 2 dongs. As soon as he saw that, he looked at me with the most raised of eyebrows. I simply told him the truth. I heard that snakes had 2 dongs. I wanted to see if it was true. My dad simply muttered "Oh, okay," and went back to Googling. For the curious, yes, it is true. When I was 12, I shaved my pubes for the first time, in the bathtub. By then, I had a full bush. For whatever reason my 12-year-old mind decided upon, I wiped them up with a washcloth and stuffed it back where all the bath towels were. Well, a few days later my mom decides to do some cleaning and finds the evidence. She assumed it was my dad's beard hair. My dad had a full beard at the time. I'm watching TV and my mom walks down the stairs with the washcloth, opens it up and proceeds to chew out my dad. He looks at it, looks at me. The said doesn't look like beard hair. He knew. I can remember that look like it happened yesterday. My mom came home when I was fricking in the living room. I shoved him, naked, into the basement. I put the condom in one pocket and my underwear in the other. My mom saw the condom wrapper and asked to see it. I said I was just curious what it looked like and it hasn't been used. I reached into wrong pocket and pulled out underwear. A weekend I was just doing nothing, so I spent the entire day playing video games. I showered until 3 PM, and I never dried myself up with a towel. I just sat in my couch, towel around my waist, eating a hot dog, playing Dead or Alive, stream beach volleyball. Also one time she was walking outside my room and I was talking with a friend on the phone playing MGS2. I told my friend I am going crazy. Where is this nakedess? I cannot find her in any of these lockers. Aha, here she is. And my mom came in. I was on the phone, watching Snake beat it on the codec and I told my mom I'm hunting for achievements. She saw me with a "why didn't I have more children" face and left without saying anything. And as soon as she closes the door I said "why achievement?" Smoking herb. Doesn't seem so bad now, but I was 13 at the time and my parents were strict as heck. I was grounded for 6 weeks. I was home alone, decided to clean the house as a surprise for mom. Cut to an hour later and I was in sweats, messy hair, bright hot pink lipstick, 6 inches heels and my iPod on my Christina Aguilera mix that I had very loud and was singing along and dancing to, very loudly and emphatically, while vacuuming. Vacuum turns off and turn around to see my dad holding the plug and everyone else laughing. When I first got married, my wife and I lived close enough to my parents that they could drop by. They were expert knock-in walkers. We got a deadbolt after the first one. Not me, but a mate's father used to play football, soccer, for his country as a junior. Back in the day when Limua was the main means of viewing media, pre-YouTube. My mate downloaded a whole bunch of football clips to show his father. Once they were done, my mate called his father in the room to show him, and the first file he opened was named Soccer Goals Compilation MPEG and opened it. Turned it to be gay P. His father left the room, went straight to his car and went for a 2-hour drive. My mate was 13 at the time. I was playing with our ladder in the backyard. I had taken my hockey goal apart and was using the net like I was a gladiator and some of the plastic tubing as some sort of melee weapon. The ladder was a giraffe. I netted it, beat it into submission and then rode it. Eventually I picked it up like I was a wrestler and was spinning around. My dad saw the whole thing. I was 16 years old. I didn't know how those plastic floss things worked, so I spent about 10 minutes scraping the front and back of my teeth like a squeegee against a window. My mom walked in, laughed at me, and then told me how to properly use it. She never forgot about it and always retold the story at every family gathering ever. I must have been about 11 or 12 at the time and I was sat in the front room watching SpongeBob after school. I had a weird pain in my right nut, so decided to free up some extra space in the area by taking my school pants off. I'm not sure whether I knew what masturbation was at the time, but I obviously didn't think anything was weird about sitting watching TV in my boxers. The pain got worse and started to worry me, so I decided to investigate with my hands. Cue my mum walking into what she only saw as me, with my pants round my ankles, fiddling with my dong, watching SpongeBob. We haven't talked about it since. When I was a kid I had to do a bunch of stuff most other kids my age didn't have to do. So I go downstairs with my laundry and see my mom's boyfriend in the laundry area butt naked. He jumped up and all I could see was his dong flying up in the air. Yep, that. My grandma recently saw pee on her search history on her laptop. I swear to God I deleted the history. Freaking Internet Explorer. Well, it wasn't so much what I was doing pairs, but when I was 13, this 20-something dude who would hang out in a chat room of preteen girls was flirting with me, which I was digging. I was very mature for my age after all, so it made sense, and once sent me a picture of his dong. I thought it was funny, so I spread it around, and I was telling some friends about it at school. My teacher overheard and called my parents out of concern. What followed was the most awkward, mortifying talk I'd ever had with my parents ever. They were very loving but very concerned, and I felt so stupid. One time while I was 14 I was on my way home from a CVS. To get home I needed to cross a parking lot of a Ralph's store and I happened to run into my dad who had just parked. This wouldn't have been all that bad if I hadn't been holding the pregnancy test I'd gone out to get. The test turned out to be negative, but I will never forget the look on his face. I was getting dressed for a softball game and I had my jersey on and my sliding shorts. I was sitting on my bed pulling up my long socks when my mom barged into my room. I immediately tried to cover myself out of reflex and she just stood there and said something to the effect of, "Oh, so that's how you get ready for games," assuming I was masturbating. I wasn't and I tried to deny it, but she just gave me this knowing look. It was so painfully awkward and I wasn't even masturbating. I went to an anime convention when I was 13, and I had exchanged AIM usernames with 3 adult guys. One of them would just send me p-links and I stopped talking to him. Another was low-key and ended up not being that interested in talking to me. Then there was the third guy. I don't remember too many details, but we talked every day and I considered him a genuine friend of mine. It was pretty innocent on my end, but his relationship with me was inappropriate. Back in middle school, of course I had these weird crushes on anime dudes, so I'd tell him all about how I had the hots for such and such characters. At one point we exchanged phone numbers, and I think my mom started to think something was up when she heard me talking on the phone in my room one day, basically because I didn't have a social life. A few days later, my dad wanted to know who I was talking to on the phone. I hang up, give him my phone, and then he sits at my computer and reads the conversation I just had with this guy. I'm so mortified to this day. I remember I told him in that IM exchange about how I wanted to make a pair of underwear with an anime guy's face on it. Something about getting wet while wearing that underwear, and poo, in the context of bathroom humor. Anyways, that's the last time I ever spoke to him, and then my friend told him I was dead. He believed her. TLDR. That moment when my dad read a conversation between his 13-year-old daughter and her adult male friend concerning weird adult anime fantasies. One of the teeth had broken off on my zipper, and if I didn't pull it up a certain way, it wouldn't work. I was standing in front of the bathroom mirror, trying to fix it while still wearing the pants. My dad, ever the inconsiderate person he is, opened the door to tell me to do some inane task, and sees me standing there. You'd think he would just assume from my totally calm, unflinching demeanor to his invasion of privacy, or the fact that my dong is totally not visible, that nothing was going on. But instead, he immediately thinks I was jerking off, and because nothing was sticking out of my zipper, that I'm very small. I was not about to talk about my size with father, so I just let him have his stupid TV sitcom moment. As for how I know he thought I was too small to be seen, I overheard him telling my mom, "But I want girls to like him," my mom said with her voice all distressed. Sigh. Don't know or care if that's still what they think. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.